Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The podcast is available bi-weekly where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also get it from our website at scalemodelpodcast.com, where you can find show notes, photo gallery, and so much more. You can also subscribe to get notifications on all our updates, new episodes, and video content. Please support the Scale Model Podcast on Patreon. Patreon supporters enjoy early access to content and exclusive contests. Your Patreon support helps us to offset hosting and other costs to bring the podcast to you. Welcome to episode 136 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Cult TV Man, Sean's Custom Model Tools, and Return to Kit Form. I'm your host, Stuart Clark, and I am here on a Monday night on a very balmy evening in Ontario. So first of all, from the north shore of Lake Erie, where I don't know if you went swimming today in the lake or not, it's Mr. Jeff Highland. How are you, sir?
I am well, and no, I did not, because as you well know, our Great Lakes are lagging indicators when it comes to temperature.
It was a bit chilly, but we did hit 19 degrees Celsius in London, which broke a record from 1966.
Yeah, it was a
So,
beautiful day. Absolutely
yeah,
gorgeous day.
especially for you retired guys. You know,
Oh,
some of us have to work.
I feel sorry for you.
I know you do. I'm sure.
Not.
I'm sure. And then also from westish of Chicagoland, where it's also been very warm, so much so that things are starting to bud. It's Mr. Terry Measley.
Yep, things are starting to bud. Tornadoes are starting to flow
Yeah,
across Wisconsin and Illinois. We were in the basement last Tuesday night.
Yeah,
that's
I saw
right.
that.
That was that
Yeah, I
storm
mean,
cell that later on hit the hangar at Dayton, Ohio.
yeah, a piece of it did, and yeah, some of it went. We're in this weird little area here. There, storms usually pass north and south of us.
Hmm.
In the summer, when we haven't had rain in like 4 weeks, it's kind of annoying. But when there's tornadoes about, I won't complain about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're kind of the same here.
I
We
mean,
have
I
the
grew up with them in the 70s,
Yep.
tornadoes, and back in Cincinnati. And when your name is on the alerts, when your town's name is on the alerts, you pay attention and
Yeah,
you
exactly. Yeah,
get the dogs down there
yep.
and just wait.
Well, we've always been funny. We have west of us is the town of Sarnia, and we always used to joke about in London. There's a guy in a flowing robe and a long beard, stretching out his arm with a staff. Because I swear at Sarnia they split north and south a lot
Mm.
of the times. But yeah, but no, definitely more severe weather. Okay, as always, thank you to our latest Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee supporters. We really appreciate it. As I said, putting a podcast on isn't really a free venture. We have to pay for web hosting and for media hosting and stuff like that. So we really appreciate your support. Don't forget to check out our What We Like page for lists of what we like. I did add a couple of things, just a couple of the latest books and some other tools. So we will be expanding that going forward with what else we like and what we're using, etc. Okay, latest news, all show related. HeritageCon 16, our most favorite show, is coming up March 24th from 9 to 4 at the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. Always a fantastic show, one of Canada's largest shows. So I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. You know that, right, Jeff?
well, no, I think it is one of Canada. Well, isn't it the largest one-day show in the
Pretty well.
world?
Well,
I think
if it's not North America, then, definitely the world. I would
I
think that.
I think
I'm,
someone told me that it was the world. And of course, it was somebody from IPMS Hamilton, I'm
they
sure,
wouldn't be
but
biased. They wouldn't be biased at
no,
all.
not at
No,
all.
not at all. Not those guys. But
Yeah.
anyway, we will be there. Our podcast as well. Kentucky Dave and Mike from Plastic Model Mojo will be there. Frank Donati, the IPMS president and our chapter president, and he's also a member of the Modeling Insanity podcast. He's going to be there as well, and a lot of special guests and a lot of regular people. So we're going to have quite a lot of content I'm hoping to record on the day. We've also got Jeff's entered his Zeppelin. All your all your calls and letters and telegrams and all that have finally paid off. He has entered it. So
Right, right. That's
we'll see
exactly
what
right.
happens there.
And more importantly, it looks like we're going to have at least two and hopefully more Musaru Cup entries in person there.
That's right. Yes, because the
Uh,
Musaru Cup, yep, I'm gonna see if I can get that down in one piece. So that'll be fun. We were talking about that before the show, how we carry stuff and how some things are delicate. And I think I'll be able to get the Musaru Cup down. It's possible the the, the top truck hood, that part may come off. It was very hanging on by a thread, but I can just position that. So
well,
that'll be fun.
to be fair, additional damage to yours would probably not do it harm.
Exactly. Very much so. And we're also going to have, and I got to thank Bill Webb from our treasurer from IPMS London. In recent shows in recent years, they've had I think they call them challenge coins. But basically, the idea is, and for our YouTube people, holding up. I'm holding up what one looks like. Bill had the idea, and the idea is if you see a particularly fantastic build that you personally love, and you want to send an attaboy to the builder or attagirl, you get these little medals. They were metal medallions, and we all got one from Nats last year when the president of
Hmm.
IPMS USA was on our show. But Bill Webb had this great idea for our local IPMS chapter. You can get poker chips custom printed, and they're much more reasonable cost. So I found out where he got them, and I quickly threw up a design and sent them off. And about a week and a half later, here they are from Colorado. So I have about 50 of them, and we're gonna look for them, during the contest, because if there's something that we particularly like, we're gonna put that down there. And it basically says "Fantastic Work, ScaleModelPodcast.com." So I'll enclose a picture of those for those people that haven't seen them already in the show notes, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think so. One more announcement. The Northwood Scale Model Fanatics presents the 10th annual Spring in the Pines IPMS Model Contest and Swap Meet. This will be Saturday, May 18th, 2024 at the Eagle River Derby Track Convention Hall at 1311 North Railroad Street, Highway 45 North, Eagle River, Wisconsin, from 9 till 4 p.m. And I will have the details in the show notes, including the club, nsmpmodelclub.org. So that looks like it's going to be a fun show. And they were nice enough to reach out to us.
Oh,
So,
that's nice.
yep, show
That's
says.
way up there. That's up
Way,
in the boundary area.
yeah, he said it was about 3 hours north of where they're doing Nats. So when he wrote me. So yeah, so that's going to be fun. All right, as always, stuff from the mailbag. We always want to hear from you. Let us know any comments or suggestions. ScaleModelPodcast@gmail.com. Jeff?
Yeah, I was just going to say I did get a text from listener Stuart Malone, who was listening to our last conversation and wanted to comment about my comment about vac form kits, and that why at a certain point in time in the old magazines there was nothing but vac form models being built, and he was just going on as at that time that was pretty much the only way you could get those vehicles or those aircraft. And we were talking about this before we started. And Terry, I think you pointed out, yeah, and some of those kits were quite good at the time too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've built a couple of the Coster kits and some other vac forms. Some of them are extremely simple and they work into essentially nice desktop models, unless you put a ton of work into them.
Right.
Some of them you had to still put a ton of work in them, but they were full kits.
Yep.
What we would now consider full kits.
Yeah, and I made a bunch of the X planes because in those days you couldn't get an X plane model for love or money and anything else, and I quite enjoyed them. But my comment back to Stuart was, yeah, there's still a lot of those old vac form kits in people's stashes that have not yet been opened or built. So, so be it.
Or may
in
not
any
be ever
event.
built.
And may never be built. They're going to become. They'll find them in archaeological digs 1,000 years from now. Wonder what the hell is going on.
They just get traded around.
Yep, exactly. It's like garage
Anyway,
sales sometimes.
I just wanted to thank Stuart for, first of all, for being the one listener this month. So good for him. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. All right, let's get going with the announcements. Trumpeter's already got some April announcements. Two things. First up is HMS Naiad. This is a British light cruiser, and they're doing it in 1/350th scale. This served in the Second World War, and she was sunk, unfortunately, in action on the 11th of March, 42 in the Med. But very famous cruiser. A lot of different actions. She briefly sighted the German battleship Scharnhorst and Gusnu south of Iceland when they were about to break out into the Atlantic. And by May 41, she was with Fort H in the Med. So nice looking cruiser.
Nice color scheme too. It's not just a all gray one. It's one of those ones North Atlantic sort of disruptive camouflage paint color schemes, which is
Exactly. Yeah.
kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a cool subject. And again, it's a test kit build up here, so you can really see what it looks like.
And
Lot of
how much photo etch?
a lot
Well,
of photo etch. There's a lot of love
ships are going to
here.
have rails.
I know, exactly. Next up in for the 1/72nd scale crowd, the U.S. Air Force XM706E2. This is
That just
a
trips off the tongue, doesn't it,
it
Stuart?
does,
Just
doesn't it? You know,
great name for a vehicle.
yeah, it's supplied. It's basically an armored car. They use it for base protection purposes for the Air Force. Post-attack reconnaissance against munitions and EOD use. Features no turret, open top, center parapet, couple of different weapons on it, usually a 50 cal and a 7.62 M60. But yeah, basically used, it's an armor car. And you've
I've
got,
This
got
could
so
be
many
tiny.
pictures of the one that the Air Force Museum has.
yep, yeah,
So,
it's small. It's
and
small.
it's a 72nd scale kit.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's going to be a small guy. But you can see a test build, a rapidly put together test build. But
Yeah,
Very rapidly, yes.
you
Yeah.
can
no,
kind of see this.
that's fine. And for 72nd scale, there's plenty of plenty of aircraft in that scale. So
Oh yeah, so you can use
it
some
Oh yeah,
sit
no.
pretty
diorama.
nicely.
This is
Yeah,
a great little diorama subject for sure.
yeah, exactly. So that's from Trumpeter this month, and then Hobby Boss, their other company, couple of new items. First of all, we have a FI 156U Storch by Hobby Boss. This is the 135th scale. Look, another company getting into 135th scale
Yeah.
aircraft. So this is their observation aircraft, short takeoff and landing.
Yep.
Um,
Fiesler Storch.
yep, very
That's a nice.
popular. I've seen
Like
some
it.
nice builds over the years.
Yeah, and Hasegawa, no, Tamiya is their
Yeah,
100th aircraft kit.
that's
that
right.
Put
was
out
this.
an astounding version of it. I've got one unbuilt, maybe two, in my
There you go.
stash.
There you go. 10 sprues and tires, 150
Uh,
parts,
but that
28
was
centimeters.
132nd scale, 132nd
Yeah,
scale,
this is
right? So
135th. Yeah, so you have to
yeah.
get this one to complete the collection. Wingspan, 48 centimeters, and the model length's 28. So big wingspan on this. A lot
That's
of
a
glass.
that's a big model of a small plane.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot of glass too. And
Yeah.
then to continue on with their 48 scale Hurricanes, they've released the Mark II-C, the tropical version, listed for $94 on the HobbyLink Japan 148 scale. A lot of companies bringing out her Hurricanes.
I
Nothing
wonder
wrong
Yeah.
how
with
this
that.
compares with the Arma Hobby one.
Well, exactly. That'll be interesting to see. I'd love to hear from someone who's got some of these or some of the earlier ones. I think this
Yeah.
isn't going to be quite as detailed as the Arma, but from what I understand, it builds up well.
Hmm. Yeah. It'd be hard to beat the Arma, that's for sure.
And that's for sure. We talk about armor a
Yeah.
little bit later on. So those are good. Those should be available fairly soon from the normal distributors. Okay, more about Terry's favorite subject, the Mini Art 148 scale,
Oh,
the
oh,
P47D
yes.
Advanced kit. So this shows a buildup from the in-house model makers, and this looks nice. I love some of the
It's
schemes.
yeah, advanced kits, right? There's so much going on.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
we've been talking about this the last couple of shows because we know it's quite popular. There's a lot of, Terry's not the only
That's a
P47 fan.
D30.
Yeah.
So the
Wow.
D30 had the ventral fillet
Yep.
or
Yep.
dorsal fillet.
Dorsal
Yep.
fillet. Yeah.
Closable
Yeah.
flight surfaces.
Look at the rivet work on this thing. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
Yeah,
going to
I
be very
saw
popular.
preview Cleaver has built up the standard one and is also using AV's new metallics. So look for that on Modeling Madness soon. He has
Yeah.
nothing but great things to say about
Yeah.
both.
Exactly. Then you see you can take the cowlings off to show the engine, and very nice detail work on the engines there.
Yeah, I don't really like posing with open unless I'm doing like a diorama. I don't really like
Hmm.
posing with
Hmm.
open cowls and such. But the open gun bays are pretty impressive.
Yep.
The
Yeah, for
amount
sure.
of amount of ammunition these planes carried was
Oh, I
staggering.
know. Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised that's all not photo etch, but there you go.
Look at it
Quite a
Yeah,
all.
bit.
Oh my
it's
God.
molded,
Yeah, it's
which
molded in. Yeah.
Yeah, but can you? Oh, I think I prefer the molded in, to be honest with you, because trying to do photo etch assembly of that stuff,
oh
forget
no
it.
kidding.
Makes tracks look easy.
3 parts per round. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. And some very,
What are you saying, Stu? There's only 280 rounds per gun or something like
yeah,
that.
no problem. I'll get back to you in 6 years when I get it done. Yeah. Some very nice marking schemes, some very famous aircraft being featured here.
Yep.
So, definitely.
There will be more to follow.
Oh
Just
yeah,
Oh yeah.
the
on the
Oh
decal
yeah.
manufacturers will be all over it. So again, that's the latest there. Hopefully coming sooner rather than later, but I know it'll be popular.
Yeah.
Okay, another popular one. Look, another Stug from Tacom. Two more Stugs, a 42 and a Stug G3, OS G mid production, with stowage. Two-in-one kit with stowage and 35th scale. So you
There's
get
got to be a plural name for Stugs, like a council of
Stug.
owls or something, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like
yeah.
what like a herd.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the Blitz kits. So these are designed to be built quickly, so not a lot of
Ah,
overly complicated things. So again, it's a nice range. Like for some people who don't want to spend, every little rivet or whatever, they want to get it together, get it painted, and away you go.
Yeah.
So that's part of this range.
A lot of
And
stowage though. It's
oh
interesting they've
yeah.
got a fully molded drape over the like sheet. Usually you had to make that out of toilet paper or something, but
hmm
here they've actually got a molded piece
Yep,
for
they got a
the
molded
tarpaulin.
piece, and like I said, a lot of stowage, as you say. They've got a good
Yeah.
CAD rendering showing what the stowage you get. Because yeah, these are often, not much room inside, right? So all the
Hmm.
supplies had to go outside.
yeah.
Yeah, and the
So,
more you stick on it, the less likely it looks like a stug, which is good, you know.
well, I guess exactly. Look, it's a moving grocery cart.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's kind of cool. Also, 135th, the Mini Art. This is their second one. This is from the new tool, the M3 Stewart. This is the initial production. So this is their second release from these molds. So this one doesn't have an interior.
The Stewart. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
with all
that's
the
nice
gas
and
tanks.
small too.
Yep, yep,
Yeah, they were not big, but
No.
this was an early tank for the US.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a light tank, and yeah.
It looks nice.
it
Oh, it always
does.
has. Yeah,
Look at these photo. I love these period photographs that they put on their site.
Yeah.
yep,
It's just the best.
yep.
You could have a lot of fun with this little guy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people will. So there's basically two boxings. Looks like one's going to be the interior, and one's going to have no interior. So they're giving
Hmm.
you a choice, which is nice. Because again, some people don't want to bother with the interior.
Yeah. I
Yep.
love all
Yep.
the pintle mounted machine guns on this thing. There's
Yep,
three forward facing pintle mounted machine guns.
yep,
Maybe one coax in that turret too.
maybe. Yeah, you could be right.
Oh yeah, there's a one. There's a
Yep,
coax.
yep.
Why do they
And
have? I'm
link and
looking at the
link tracks.
looking at the sheet of photo etch. They have four brass circles, like round things, and looking at the picture of the buildup. Those go on the front. I guess that's the front wheel, the front round.
Yep, makes sense.
There's a name for it. I forget. I'm blanking right now. It's not the drive
No,
sprocket. It's the other
the
one.
bogey.
The
Yeah, the
bogey. Yeah,
bogey.
that's what it is. Yeah. So
Why
one
would you
person.
do that?
It's a
Is this?
rim.
It's a
I
rim.
know, but
Yeah, because
why wouldn't you
it's
just mold the damn rib on or paint it
because you
bronze
can.
or
Because you can.
because it's mini art. That's why.
Yeah, because it's
They
mini
must
art.
have had a reason. Their molding's good, so
I know, but they like
there
they
must
can
have been a
complicate it.
reason.
They do
Yeah,
like overcomplicating, that's for sure. And
yeah.
that's
But again,
partly why
people
you
love
like
it.
them.
People love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that do that. There's a ton of clear parts for the periscope, as you said, the photo etch, and the decals. So you've got one from the Royal Tank Regiment in Egypt in summer of 41, 2nd Armored Division in South Carolina, autumn of 41, South Carolina 1st Armored in South Carolina, autumn 41 again. So yeah, a lot of
Mhm.
different ones, pre-war for the U.S. ones. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be popular. Okay, Zukimura. This one I know a lot of people are happy to see. A lot of the aircraft guys. Anytime you mention a Phantom, you get a lot of fans. So Zukimura is working on an F4E, the late model in 1/48 scale, and it's going to be awesome because it's from Zukimura.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
hard to beat
that's
that. To me, it's was that there's a D though, wasn't it?
this was a D, I believe. Yeah, and this one's
Yeah.
they've already released an early E. But this is a late E, so there's a couple of differences, and you can go through Israeli versions, you can have Greek ones, you can have all sorts. So yeah, there'll be some interesting things coming out of this. So yeah,
Yeah.
not much more we can
Nice.
say. I'm not a Phantom expert. I just appreciate the aircraft, and I know
Yeah. And they do
there's a lot
mention
of
that
people.
it's only the recon ones that are left
Yep.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
modern
exactly.
48 scale kits. And somebody's going to do well. I'm sure you'll get them
Yeah,
resin, but
Zukimura.
one
Yeah,
of
I'm
these will
sure.
actually do it because those will sell.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if we see him from Zukimura. I
Yeah.
won't
I
be
mean,
surprised at all.
the ones used in, into the Gulf Wars were, that would be a popular subject, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, it would be
Hmm.
very popular. I agree. I agree. Okay, I promised you more hurricanes. So, Arma 148, they've released the Sea Hurricane. This is the Mark II. I had the Airfix one I built a while
Yes.
back. So you basically take a Hurricane, add a tail hook, a few other little small modifications, and then you have a Sea Hurricane. So yeah, this looks very nice. So these are the Sea Hurricane, the Mark II-C from June 44, from 835 Squadron, another 2C from 825, and a Mark 10 from 804 that took part in Operation Torch from
Mhm.
HMS Dasher. Pre-order, they plan to start shipments on March 15th.
It's great. It
I'm
is
looking
a
at,
deceptively simple looking kit.
but
Oh yeah,
look
but
at the
There's
3D.
3D printed stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
as I
looking.
said,
I really,
I've got the Mark One, and that looks it's deceptive as well, but it's going to be interesting.
but it's neat the way they've structured the 3D printing because all like they
Yes.
got a whole bunch of parts in one stack
Yeah.
with all the supports and everything. That's
Yep.
pretty interesting. Good
Yep.
for
No,
them.
that'll be good. And again, that's the piece for the tail hook on the bottom fuselage, the main part. And
So
it's
Mm,
is
like
it essentially an internal a conversion kit?
yeah.
yeah, they basically took the existing 2C and added the parts to make it a C Hurricane.
Huh.
Airfix did exactly the same thing a few
Yeah.
years back. The difference is they didn't do 3D printed. And
Mm.
it's the same thing with their tropical. You basically just have you add a new radiator, and most of the parts are the same.
Hmm.
Hurricane can be a very profitable build if you do it well out of the gate, because the variations don't really need a ton of extra parts. So yeah, this one's going to be fun. As I said, I've got their original 48th one in the stash, and I have to get that built at some point. But the Sea Hurricane I had a lot of fun with. So, and I like this scheme in the white. This won an award at the Model Fan Show at the 2024 Nuremberg Toy Show.
Mm. Some good markings here too. Yeah.
Yep, yep, US ones and some
Yeah.
popular ones in different schemes. So, yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be good. So the one with the U.S. markings, they were actually operated by the Fleet Air Arm, but they had American markings during Operation Torch, so because they didn't want to confuse it with French markings. So because they were both, the Royal Navy ones or the Fleet Air Arm and the French Air Force, they both have roundels and they look kind of similar. So
Hmm.
they decided for the Operation Torch, they give it the stars instead, even though
Yeah.
they were being flown by Fleet Air Arm pilots. So yeah, very, very cool. All right, that is from Arma. And then our good friends at Special Hobbies. Bunch of different things, always unusual subjects. So we have
Always interesting things.
an SNCAC NC701 Martinet
I
148
just
scale.
I just love this thing. It is such a weird looking plane.
I
Hmm
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
It's
It's
an
kind of
it's an Airbus, right? It's just a
yeah,
bus.
but it's with a Ju-88 kind of front end on it.
Hmm.
Yep.
It's just a neat looking little plane.
It was German, and then the French continued to build it even after the war. Airframes were exported to Netherlands, Poland, and Sweden as well, and Czechoslovakia.
Ooh, Swedish markings.
Swedish markings.
Ooh,
So yeah,
Sweden.
yeah, you've got it doesn't come with Swedish markings, so does it? No, not in this one. This one has a French option and Polish lot transport. Oh no, sorry, a Swedish civilian machine. I apologize. There is
The one
Swedish
with the three
markings.
crowns looks pretty Swedish to me.
Yeah, I hadn't got that far down.
High
Smart ass.
Coroner.
I tell you, terrible, terrible. Okay, then we have the AH-1QS Cobra from the Israeli Air Force. They're calling it IDF against terrorists,
Hmm.
148 scale. They had these back in the 70s and 80s. They equipped them with tow missiles and yeah, so nice size. 48th will
Yeah.
build you a nice size kit, just not overwhelming. Three markings, two different tones of brown. And then if we continue, yeah, so nice canopies, etc. Then they also have external armament for the SMB-2 and other Israeli Air Force planes, 1/72nd scale. So these were used on the IAF Super Mystere, the SMB-2, as well as other aircrafts of the period. So you get some 250 kilograms, some napalm bombs, two quadruple racks with 8 100-kilogram bomblets, and a pair of Shafir 2 anti-aircraft missiles with launchers and pylons. All right, and then another interesting one, the Burita BA-88B Link Deuces bomber from
Duce,
Special
El
Hobby.
Duce
El
bomber. I
Duce,
mean, great
Italian bomber.
Italian
Say,
paint scheme, classic Italian paint scheme.
yeah.
Hard to beat it. That's a fun looking plane too.
Yep, all sorts of fun. They were operated from the Italian mainland and from bases in Africa. So
It
yeah, some
was.
interesting,
It
and
was
they're going to
nice.
do masking sets and photo etches are going to be available for this kit.
Oh God, of course. You need the
So,
masking
and look,
set.
there's the masking set right there.
And there it is, yes.
Yeah, how many parts? 25, 31. 31 sections in the masking set with the instructions. That's a
Nice.
lot. That's a ton.
Yeah. That's
All right.
yes.
And then we have the forts for the truck guys. Fortson WOT2E, the British 15-ton truck from World War
What
II.
what does CWT actually stand for?
Center weight tonnage or something.
15 CWT truck. I've
Something
seen it on a
about
number of
15.
like
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me
Let's Google
consult
it.
the Oracle.
I
Here,
figured for
you
sure
just
you would
keep
know.
it's center weight. The abbreviation stands for centum or center weight, meaning 100 weight.
Okay, so that's like 100 a ton.
So a 15-ton, yeah, 15-ton
Yeah.
truck.
Okay. Why don't they just call it a 15 ton?
Because
Never
that
mind.
would make sense. Well, do you want you to even be more confusing? Of course, the American and British have to do it differently. In the
Yeah,
US,
tons and
100 weight
tons.
is a mass equal to 100 pounds. In the UK, it's equal to a mass of 112 pounds.
Yeah,
As I
exactly.
blink, I just, yeah. Okay. Aren't you glad you asked?
I am. Oh, you have no idea how glad I am.
All
So
right.
here's another 72nd scale truck for you to
Yep.
put next to your airplanes and
Honestly, it's
Yep.
whatever else.
perfectly.
Resin.
It'll
It's
go with
nice
that.
looking resin.
It'll
It's a
go well
little
with the
resin
one you just
cast
built
deal.
for Musaru, Stuart. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. This one will probably go together better though.
Mm.
What could possibly go wrong?
Is
Oh,
that
look, photo
chassis
etch.
is that chassis 3D printed or is that
Yeah, that's got to be
I think
because
that
Yeah,
not
it's a
chassis
different
the
color.
frame
The
is
frame, yeah, it's a different
3D
color.
printed.
Yeah, it
those
looks
are all the
like it.
support struts. That's what those are.
Yeah, it says 3D printed. Resin parts,
Yes.
etch part, 3D printed parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. It really is interesting to see how they blend now the things that are easy because that kind of stuff's a bitch to cast.
Well, look at,
Mhm.
So you may as well print it.
Yep. Well, look further down. You get two types of cargo beds.
I
One
saw
without
that.
a resin top and one with a 3D printed. Did you notice the door? the driver and passenger doors
It's
are
just a
are
piece of
etched.
brass.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
piece of
And so
brass.
is the the front the guard out
The
front.
guard out front, yeah, exactly. A lot of little photo etch there. So no, I'm not building that. Someone else can be Ian, you can build that.
Yeah, this
So
is Ian's dream.
yep, little tiny.
I love to see these kind of subjects
Oh, I
up.
know.
I
Multimedia
really do.
stuff, what they're doing. Yeah, if they have the ability to get the best type of part for the particular component they want to build, the best
Yep.
material. Exactly. And no, we can't complain about that. All right, Italeri, speaking of Italian subjects. Four releases. These are all repops, by the way. The
Yeah.
Bugatti Type 35B Roadster. We've seen this before, 112 scale. Beautiful blue.
Yeah,
That looks just really nice. I
I bet that
remember.
was very popular
Oh
in the
yeah,
last the last time they've issued it.
yeah.
Just
Produced
a
during the
nice car.
20s, it won an incredible amount of races in both road and track. Yep, just gorgeous looking. You got metal strips for the chrome parts, etch sheet, plastic chrome covered parts. You get some decals. Yeah,
Nice. Very nice.
very, very pretty.
Yeah.
I should
Another
do one of
truck.
these one day. Another truck,
Deuce and a half.
Here's
Deuce and
a
a half from
yeah,
D-Days, commemorating
Nice.
D-Day.
2.5 CWT.
Here we go.
CWT baby.
6x6. Yep.
Uh,
Very, very
Yeah, very
common,
nice.
very common vehicle. So they have one from Normandy and the another unknown unit from also from Europe in 44. Another one for Normandy. So basically all just after the invasion.
Hmm.
it's actually not an unknown unit. It's an unknown unit.
Oh, so yeah, you're right. Spelling mistake there. Trust the lawyer to find that.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I'm here
That's what
for.
you do. That's what you do. Now he's gonna charge me for another hour. Okay, yeah, lots of variations, long wheelbase, short wheelbase, open close cabins, etc.
Oh wow.
So very, very common, popular for dioramas and that. Yeah, that builds up well.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then we have the 1/72nd scale EF-111A Raven. You basically take an F-111 aardvark and you pack it. You take out some of the weapons and you pack in a lot of electronics and jammers. And here we go.
Hmm.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, these were used in Libya, Bosnia, and Iraq. A lot of electronic warfare. A couple of different markings from 95, from 87. Yeah, it's a nice looking aircraft, especially with that with that giant bulge on the tail with
Hmm.
some various components in there. So yeah, yeah, very nice looking. And then another one for their D-Day series, the Duck, DUKW. I don't know if they still do it in Boston, but you can take one of these for a ride in the harbor in Boston for
Yep.
the tourists. I don't
Yeah,
know if
there
they
were
still do
some
it
up
or
in
not.
Wisconsin too,
Was
with
there?
the
Okay.
Nadells.
Yep. So basically, a vehicle that swam, a truck that swam ashore, and yeah, was
Kept on
same as a G
driving.
GMC road truck, six-cylinder engine, three differentials, six driving wheels. It was a welded hull to make it amphibious, and away you go.
Yep, and it's not big in 72nd scale.
No,
So
No,
no, it's not.
not a lot of parts either.
no, it's a very simple parts layout.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can do a lot of things with the
Yeah.
cargo and stuff like that. A ton of different decals supplied. So yeah, yeah, kind of cool as well. So make sure you check
Hmm.
those out from our friends at Italeri. Okay, we're recording this on Monday the 4th, and Vallejo announced they have released a new line of their classic model color. The first link there's a video and then some other stuff about it. So Model Color is their original brand. So they
Yeah.
basically reformulated it. They've added some stuff very similar to what a lot of the other manufacturers are doing, working with the time. I've kept the video on there because it's quite cool because it goes behind the scenes on how they designed it and how it's made. And people may find that interesting, but I've been coming back to Vallejo. They rebranded recently. I've been playing again with some of it now that I've been working with a lot more acrylics, and I did that. I did a Dune Ornithopter, which we'll talk about a bit later. I used a lot of Vallejo products and on it, and I've always been impressed with them. But I'm going to have to definitely revisit it more. So they're going to have um, 220 different items, 192 colors, 10 metallics, 2 transparent, and 16 auxiliary products. So those are like your mattes and your gloss shines and stuff like that. You know, your airbrush flow improver, things like that. So yeah, this looks very nice. They've really gone through. They explain in both the video and if you look at the color chart, they're trying to do color triads for the mini painters and stuff like that. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing. And now I'm sure the local hobby stores all over aren't impressed because they probably have racks of the existing stuff.
That's right.
So it'll
Yeah.
slowly make its way. That's the only thing. You're not going to see it. You know, the odd hobby store may buy a whole new rack, but I think the rest you're going to see them slowly make it. But apparently it paints a lot better. It's a lot smoother, thicker pigment, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. And like I say, if you go through the range, you see they've
Mhm.
got quite a few here, including a lot that are pretty close to RAF colors and stuff like that. So for those people who want to do that, the other big thing is the bottle size has been increased. It was 17 mil, now it's 18 mil.
Yeah, I've got some of the new game air from our local game shop here, Games
Hmm.
Plus, and I like the new bottles a lot. They seem well. One thing is they're clear, so you can actually more easily
Yes.
see the color. So in my rack, it's easier to see what's which is which. Um, but yeah, they are larger for one thing, and I think the caps are improved.
They've
The old
improved the
caps used,
caps. Yeah, they've also got a
yeah,
seal. They've also got a seal on the cap, so you know it hasn't been opened. It's like similar to like a
right,
milk jug,
yeah.
and you can see it there. It's in white there. So yeah, that's one thing they did mention in the video as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it again. I'm coming back to Vallejo. I've been trying all the different brands. We are in the golden age
Yeah,
for
well, they're
paint.
these kind of paints are all in how you thin them. Use your
Yep,
glaze medium. Use your your thin type mediums. Your glaze
yep.
medium is like the standby
Exactly. Like
for most of that stuff.
I've been playing with the Model Air a bit more, and I've only got a few
Mhm.
of the standard colors. But yeah, it's certainly something. If there's a color that looks like it's going to more closely match something, or I'll definitely try these. So I'm
Yeah, I
looking.
have been. I was just using several of them, fresh bottles. So I'm going to chuck my old bottles when I buy new ones because the old ones they do tend to clump up over time. These
Do they?
polyurethane paints.
Okay.
The new
Yeah.
ones might be better.
Yeah.
So a fresh bottle made a huge difference. So and they're not that expensive.
Yeah. I
But I
re
did pre-blend my white blend that mostly white with a little bit of wolf gray. I
Okay.
finally got smart and just made a whole bottle of
Made
it.
your own blend, yeah.
Yeah.
I got my little paint shaker thing, like a lab paint
Yep.
shaker, and I find that really makes a difference as well with those dropper bottles and
Yeah.
with the Smeo bottles, especially if I haven't used them in a while. I had some old Army painter I haven't used in a couple of years,
Oh.
and I just about a minute in the shaker. The only thing I had to do is I had to poke a hole just in the cap with a
Mhm.
needle, but it came out beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't complain. If it saves me from buying 4 or 5 bottles, it pays for itself right there. Yeah, Jeff, what's your favorite paint these days?
You know what? I'm just sitting here thinking we keep seeing all these new paint lines coming out over the last 10 years, maybe. Um, I still really I I like Tamiya.
Yep,
I like mixing it with leveling thinner,
yep,
Mr.
Mhm.
Hobby.
yep.
And I also like Vallejo. I mean, I like Vallejo because I love the smell of Vallejo. And there are times when the leveling thinner is a bit
Much.
strong.
Yes.
Yeah, and so for if it's a big job, maybe I'll go with a Tamiya surface primer, and then I'll use Vallejo over top of it, and I
Hmm.
find that it
Hmm.
works fantastically. Does a great job. And so this new Vallejo, man, maybe it's better. I just realized that those speed painters a line that I
Yep,
picked
from
up
Army
a
Painter.
little
Yep.
while ago from
Mhm.
Army Painter. Yeah, you're right. Those are 18 mils, and the regular Vallejos are 17 mils. They're
Yep.
just like marginally larger.
Yep.
I
Now
actually thought they were the same size.
Vallejo also has a speed paint line. But yeah, so all the manufacturers are kind of doing the same thing. MIG Ammo has a new line out as well. So yeah, they're definitely, it's interesting how we're seeing a lot more options, not only, for the mini painters, but for the modelers. Like I've been playing quite a bit with the AK Gen 3.
Mhm.
And as you said, the Army Painter Quick Painters, and it's amazing how far we've gone. Because yeah, Tamiya and Aquias, it's great paint for airbrushing, but it's terrible for hand brushing.
Yeah,
Absolutely
it is. It
terrible.
is. I
So
got like
that's where your glaze medium comes in, guys.
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
without
Yeah,
having to play around,
then you
right?
can turn it, but it doesn't take much. A
No,
couple drops of
I
glaze
agree.
medium, and you turn it into a brush paint.
yeah.
I agree, and I've got the Stender and I've done it. But like I said, yeah, I can airbrush Aquios or Tamiya,
Yeah,
mixing it with one hand tie behind my back.
recently I've been blending some Tamiya gloss into their paints to toughen them up a little bit.
Yep, yep, I've heard of people
They
doing
still
that.
airbrush just great, but
Mhm.
they are a little tougher.
Yep.
You're still
Yeah.
going to want to gloss coat before you start masking and such.
Yeah,
I have to.
But
I've never had that problem. I don't know why, if I'm just lucky. Same thing with tip dry. I don't have that problem. Sorry,
hmm,
Jeff, go ahead.
I was just going to say I have to assume that Vallejo's going to start, given the sheer volume of paint colors that they're showing on this page, they're going to start doing those box set things again too. Because I have like 10 of their box sets
yeah,
Oh
for
yeah, yeah.
various categories, and I
they're
love them.
handy.
They
I
are. They're
noticed
handy.
I noticed our local hobby shop, Brofdale, he carries Vallejo and he got a few more box sets. Now these are the older, these are
Not the
the
new ones.
existing ones, not the new
Yeah.
ones. But some of the bottles in the box set had the new logos and everything.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, because they redid their logo and stuff like that. They do an awful lot of stuff. I've got quite a few of their weathering products, and they're very good too. Like, all these Spanish brands, just, it's amazing to have this choice. And it's nice that sometimes you may prefer a metallic, let's say, from one manufacturer, and a red or an opaque from another manufacturer. It's nice to have that option.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, from my perspective, I have essentially more paint than I will use in 2 lifetimes
Well,
Yeah.
now.
exactly. Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Yeah. How often do we, the only ones I tend to go through are like the Tamiya flat black and the common stuff, right? And then
Yep.
when I was building a lot of RAF subjects, I had a lot of interior green. That's why I've still got 5 or 6 bottles of the Aqueous. But eventually I'll go through it. But yeah, it's
Well,
with these mini paints, exactly.
well, my issue is I always forget what I've already got when I go to the store, and I come back.
Spreadsheet.
Well, the spreadsheet doesn't work on my phone. I've got a spreadsheet with paints, but I'll come back and I got I've got my
I
own hobby
know.
store worth of
I
paint
know.
here.
Well, you know what you can do? You can always, do something like, like print out the spreadsheet.
Google Docs is what I use.
What?
Google
I
Docs,
use
I know.
Google Docs so I can dig
Yeah, I
into it.
use Excel. I have an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Everything's in tabs by line. I've got to catch up though. I've been behind because of
hmm
some of these new speed paints I've been buying from the local game store.
I
Um,
yeah, I was doing it for paint, but I gave up on that. And then, but I do it for decals and for aftermarket
yeah, no, I
stuff.
haven't done that. I've done it for paints because I have done that. I think I've got 3 or 4 Tamiya black semi-gloss paints because of that reason.
That's
Because
fine.
I was running low and I went, oh, I got to get one. And I had already forgotten I'd already been twice and replenished it. And it's like, I don't need to do this again. I got 4 of them now, and then I make sure I pitch the other one. So,
And you're
you know,
close enough, you can very quickly go to the local hobby store. I'm an hour away. It's a bit
I know, I
different.
realize that. Well, that's what I'm saying. You should print something out.
I Nah. Then it would be like 5 pages long, and forget it. So I just don't buy any more paint, and I'll
Okay.
just figure out what I. And also, as far as okay, here's a slightly different shade. Well, I used to paint anyway, so I'm used to mixing. I don't
Yeah,
mind
hmm
mixing my own
me
colors,
too.
and
Me too.
And
And
you're
if it's
gonna
not
want a
perfect,
variation anyway
yeah.
on
And
the
if
yeah,
in the
it's not
paint to make
exactly,
it
perfect,
look good.
yeah, exactly.
exactly.
For the longest time before I could get Aqueous interior green again, I was using the Japanese green for the interiors, and it was close enough. Exactly. I don't build for contests. I build if I'm happy with it, I'm happy with it.
Well,
All right.
now at least I know what to criticize on all your older builds. That'll
Oh,
be fun.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you want to get in there with the flashlight.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to be one of those guys,
Well, oh, I do. I so want to.
now
Yes.
just remember you're not allowed to pick it up and hoist
No.
it up in the air as like, a la Lion King. Just
Let's not
remember that.
scat. Let's not pick that scat.
Yeah, that one hurts.
Okay, we'll continue. Scalemates. New releases. As I said, we're recording this on the 4th.
Dive in the deep end.
Back in the deep end, March 4th. From a company called Orvinda with an exclamation mark. An I-17, a pre-World War II fighter prototype, 48th and 72nd scale, and the first Soviet fighter in 1/72nd scale, the I-1.
Wait.
Well, there's two. There's the
That's
Polycarp I-17 and the Polycarp I-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
I
17
always thought the
Fourier
I-7
scales.
I always thought the I-17 was the big ass radial engine on the front, but maybe that was a different I. Anyway,
the I-16 and the I-15 both had
yeah, that's
similar
it. That's it.
engines.
That's
Uh,
it.
where did you guys start out? Because I see March
Scalemates.
3rd.
Oh,
March 4th. I'm looking at March 4th.
just do a
Oh,
refresh. There's 3 for March 4th.
Two of which are the same. Well,
Yeah.
the same plane, different
There
That's
we
all
scale.
there
go.
is. It might have just, yeah. You got them now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably just added them.
Huh. I'm not familiar with those I-17s.
No, neither am
No,
I.
Looks like it
like
was a racer.
it does. Yeah, and the color's good. I like the color red. Well, it's not gray.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
moving from the Eastern Front down to the Southern Front, we have an Italian flying boat,
Look
Yes.
at that.
Machi
48
M33
scale.
project. I like
Mach-E
that.
MB32.
Yep.
Mm.
And then
Looks
we
like
had,
it looks like a vaguely upgraded Porco Rosso machine, you know?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of these racers. They were big. Mach-E was huge in those racers.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. I
And the
love it.
engine almost looks like it could be upside down. I know it's not, but
Ooh,
just the way it looks.
Oh, I'm already salivating over one in March 2nd. You can tell
All
me which
right.
one you think it is.
Well, I'm looking at the USS Seawolf, the Special Projects version, SSN 575. So this was a nuclear special project submarine. Basically, this was one that would, take the Navy SEALs to different places to drop them off to do evil things, for example. So that
Evil.
one's evil things. It's classified evil, but it's evil things.
That's not the one
Usually,
I'm looking at.
I know. Let's see what you're looking at here. You're looking at the Holland submarine,
I am looking at the Holland submarine,
3D print
1899.
files. Yep,
Look at the scale,
48.
148.
Yeah, it's a digital file.
That'll
Print
be
your
a
own.
that'll be a good sized little beast.
Yep. And then there's the RAN Oster Aero Car from what a name, Red Roo
yeah, the
Models.
Aero
They got
cars.
to be
Very
Australian.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
Red Brew. Check them out. They've got a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
yeah. 3D
Uh,
printed resin kit. That's it. Yeah. This is good to see all these resin kits come out.
okay, and for those who have larger wallets than us, the Lotus 100T, the
Ooh.
1988
Oh,
Brazilian Grand Prix from Model Factory Hero,
yeah.
1/12 scale.
MFH. All you have to do is say Model Factory Hero
Yeah,
and second mortgage. There you go.
second mortgage. There you go. What else we have here? We have the Chinese Zheng space launch vehicle
Yeah,
from Bronco in 1/72, a
Oh,
dump
nice.
truck.
that'd be a good size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bandai's got something I assume it's like a Gundam space robot set. Oh, it's like one of these where the arms are cars and they all link together.
It's a Boon Boomger Robo
Boom
set.
Boomger. It's
Boom,
probably
boom.
from a
Boon
TV
Boomger.
from the TV series called Super Sentai. So yes.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah, this is a common plot. You got like 5 people all work together, and
Yeah.
then the thing merges together,
And
to
if they
form
don't
the
all
super
work
rocket.
together, they'll never succeed.
Exactly. That's why they always work together.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have a Soviet B-4 howitzer from Zvezda 1/35 scale. Hey, a
135th.
Triceratops.
Ray Harryhausen's Triceratops. Soft vinyl kit from Star Ace.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
don't know Star
Need
Ace. I'm
something-
sure I will see it at Wonderfest.
Oh, it'll be there. It'll be there. We have a Formula One test vehicle from Nico Models in 1/20th. A Russian large kamikaze drone. So this is one of the ones currently being used in the Ukraine, obviously.
Yeah.
1/35
Probably
scale,
Iranian manufacturer.
probably.
Yeah.
Let's see, going down to the 27th. What is the Hyperion? Some sort of massive Japanese space battleship. 1/8000 scale.
Wow.
That might be from Legends of the Galactic Heroes.
Okay.
It is. It says Legends of the
Was
Galactic
it?
Heroes.
How
Yeah.
about that?
Oh,
It's a
look
big
at that.
series.
Well,
It is
Look
great
at
all
guess.
you.
Great
politics.
guess, Terry. Well done.
Well played.
That looks like a mighty big beast.
They are, and they have ludicrous numbers of ships, and they lose ludicrous numbers of ships
Well, like any
in that
Japanese
series. Oh
fleet
my God.
sci-fi thing. It's like I don't know where they find the raw materials in the shipyards to make them, but man, they go through them bloody quick, don't they?
Yeah,
Or
especially since they've been at war for like 400 years.
yeah, and what kind of economic structure do you have to support that kind of loss? That's
Planets
insane.
worth of raw materials, entire
Exactly.
systems worth of metal.
Ooh,
Exactly. And
it's
then
got to be based on slave labor.
one little hit and the whole thing goes up. Um,
Oh,
Nah.
most Japanese anime big fleet action seem to be
hmm
like that. A couple of Soviet submarine projects, Rubis class and Soviet submarine project 667, the Grusha in 1/1250th scale, and the Rubis is 1/350th. We have a pillbox ballistic missile defense radar from TACOM in 1/350th. Also, oh yeah, good, another naval gun. They're the Mark 45, the
Oh,
5-inch
very
naval
cool.
gun from TACOM,
The
1/35th.
5-inch
Very,
autocannons.
yeah, very common on modern
Everything.
NATO ships.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
that's tempting.
That is, that's very tempting. So that's kind of neat.
The pillbox kind of is too.
Yep.
The flat panel radar. Love it.
We got here. I'm going down to the 24th. Anything else that catches our eye?
It's got to be really special to catch our eye. I'm
I
telling
know,
you.
I tell you.
Yeah.
Lots of
Oh,
Gundams.
a Saab LX Swedish Jet Interceptor. That
Where's
looks like a paper airplane on the
on
20th.
on the 20th? Oh yeah, Unicraft models.
Yeah.
And ResKit's got the MHU 83 bomb lift truck in 32nd, 48th, and 72nd.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
yeah,
And then there's the Bandai Zerth. That looks nasty. Shokugan Modeling Project, SMP.
yeah, he looks awfully big, doesn't he?
It does. It looks like that's a city crusher. That's a
Yeah,
Harryhausen waiting to
yeah.
happen.
Looks like it all form. It must like when it travels, it must fold up and become like a round spherical object with a pointy end. Just the way the armor looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like it would
Yeah.
transform. I'm sure there's someone who's screaming at their computer right now saying, "No, you guys have it wrong."
Yeah, I
He
don't
looks
know what
mean.
series this is from.
Yeah,
He looks mean, but those legs do not, they look a little bit too slim
yeah,
for supporting.
This thing likely never sets foot on in a gravity well, right? It's
right. Yeah, it
But
generates
look,
its own.
it
I know.
appears to be standing on a city in this picture.
Well,
for
somewhat.
scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
this.
I have no idea what it's from.
We'll finish up with the 18th. You can get a carp.
Yeah, I think
I
we
think
saw
we
the carp
talked about
I
last
the
think we
time.
talk
We
about
talked
the metal
about the
carp. We
carp.
did. Well, we'll talk about it again. It's a metal carp. What more do you want?
Yeah,
You
you
know.
gotta have a metal
Have
carp.
fun bending that
Oh God.
metal up.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it from Scalemates. Now, also in other lots of sci-fi news and stuff like that, let's see what Steve at Cult TV Man has on offer this week. Let's see what's new at Cult TV Man and CultTVManShop.com. A lot of exciting updates. The Atlas Agena rocket has arrived from our friends also at Horizon Model. This is the latest in their line of 172nd launch vehicles. Some pretty cool options there you have. They also carry the complete range of Horizon Model real space rockets. I've built these kits, wonderful kits. Don't forget, they also offer a discounted shipping option on orders over $150 in the continental US. So that's a good thing if you want to stock up. They have an update on the Bela Lugosi Dracula from X Plus. It's now expected earlier in the summer. Unfortunately, the price is going to have to be increased slightly. The pre-order price is going to be $64.99, and Steve says it looks like it's an absolutely fabulous kit. Lots of other new stuff. They've got a ton of stuff in from Paragraphics, including the Falcon cockpit and detail set. Looks absolutely fantastic. What else do we have here? We also have the Aurora Saber-Tooth Tiger 1 to 13th scale from Atlantis. Yours for $26.99. The Cave Bear, same scale, 1/13th, a prehistoric one, $26.99. They've also got on sale a limited amount of the vintage Star Trek Micro Machines. I remember these. These were fantastic. They have two different ones, the movie set and the set number one. They're being cleared out at $29.99 a piece. And then we've also got some of the other newer kits, the vintage Wrath of Khan Klingon Enterprise Battle Damage, the Falcon Detail set, as I mentioned before, and of course the classic AMT Klingon Battle Cruiser. So for all your sci-fi, surreal space, monster, and whatever else you can think of needs, make sure you check them out. CultTVManShop.com and tell them that the Scale Model Podcast sent you. Okay, we haven't done a topic in a while, so
No, we haven't.
we
We've
should
become
do a
boring.
topic. I know we've become boring. So
Enough.
we had a couple of different ideas. So
Drinking and modeling, that was a good one.
that was
but
a good one. I think it's been done though.
yeah,
Yeah,
probably done on a weekly basis.
Yeah, from our friends in Kentucky, I think,
yeah.
But
Exactly.
that's all right. That's all right. We're getting too old. We fall asleep halfway through it, right?
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit changes in modeling over the years. Jeff, you kind of came up with this one. And we
I
all
came up with a couple. I just
I know,
threw
but we'll start
crap
with
at the
this one.
wall.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
start this one. Some of it actually stuck. And the impact that social media has had on styles, techniques, and subject matter.
Yeah.
So Jeff, I'm going to let you start.
Well, it just struck me this when you sent a note around saying what should we talk about. I had a bunch of things that I doom scroll through my Facebook feed quite regularly, and most of the things I follow are modeling related, one way or another.
hmm
And it just kind of struck me. And also, as I've said in a couple of podcasts, I've got all these magazines from the 60s all the way through to modern time that I've been sort of slowly going through. And I've been noticing because when you go through a magazine collection rapidly, you start seeing trends. And I noticed just first of all how bad a lot of the models were back then with that we thought were really good. Like there were some really good modelers. There was the Shep Paynes, and then later on there were the Francois Verlindens and Dave Bakanskis and a number of other excellent modelers. But a lot of the models in these magazines were obviously done on a deadline. And so they were done very quickly and they were okay, but they weren't what we would consider to be top of the line modeling skills. And I look at more modern magazines and most of the builds are a much better quality. Like not all of them, frankly, but most of them are better quality. And I think I wondered if that was tied to the rise of social media, that now all of a sudden there are a lot of exceptional modelers in the past who would never consider submitting their models, their builds to a magazine or anything like that, but they're comfortable sort of putting them on a Facebook group or doing their own YouTube channel or something to that effect. And I just wonder if we're now seeing a lot more of stuff that was always there, but it's just hidden. And I also wondered if to the extent to which we tend to look at stuff on Facebook or YouTube or whatever and say, I really like the look of that. Maybe I'd like to try doing that. And so you wind up following a trend or whatever, whether it's a style like overly weathering, under weathering, super clean, whatever you want to call it, or whether it's a subject, anime, sci-fi, films. One of my thoughts was that there's a big rise in non-historic subjects, film, TV models, sci-fi, anime, all that stuff. They're not like Spitfires and Messerschmitts and Panzers like they used to be. But I wondered if that's because there's a generation that's aging out and there's new people coming in. But then I thought about back in my day when in the mid 60s, when I was a really young kid and starting modeling, we had things like the Aurora series of the torture scenes series, right?
And the monsters, the
and the
MGM,
monsters.
It explains a great
MGM
many
monsters.
things. It explains a great
Yeah.
many things. I'm just saying.
But even then, and those were big hits. Those kits were huge hits where they weren't banned. So I wonder. It's always been a thing. If a manufacturer can find a groove that some people really want to get into, then they're going to run it and go crazy with it. 'Twas ever thus. So anyway, I was just curious what people thought about the changes in over time, and in particular whether everything old is new again, or are we actually seeing a change?
Okay, Terry.
Um, it's largely a state of the art, just getting better and better and better, right? So
Yeah.
you see a lot of those, and they're still available. The old Hawk or Lifelike or these other ones are still available under Aurora and some of the ones who bought those. Testers when I was a kid was selling old Hawk kits and such, and
Mhm.
with the raised insignia and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
they were quick builds, right? Um, Now it's steamrolling, honestly. If you think of the Aoshima and Otaki kits from the 70s or late 60s, early 70s, they kind of pushed the boundary forward a bit. Then Tamiya and Hasegawa got into their action. Then Hasegawa kind of plateaued for a while. They're back on their game, getting better now because other companies are starting to eat their cheeseburgers.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, and don't forget the materials we have now, especially we talked about paints earlier.
Yeah.
And it's not just Humbrol and Testors enamels or Floquil lacquers.
Yeah.
There's so much more available now. And even now, if you look at the instructions from some of the kits, even like Hasegawa or Tamiya is good at this because they were pushing their own paints. Uh, they'd say, X11 plus
Mhm.
X11. They give you a ratio of like three
Yeah.
paints to mix to hit this color approximately. And now you can just go get that paint.
Yeah.
Gunzi started out doing that, and you get every federal standard or military paint available,
Mhm.
in their line. You just had to find somewhere to buy it.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
that's your point is well taken as far as the quality of the builds versus then versus now, because you're right. The kits start out at a higher level,
yeah,
and
even the kits from the 70s, like the Nichimo kits, those
yeah.
still hold up. That's a project I've got. I want to do the Wingsy versus Nichimo Sonya, the
Mm.
Kawasaki, Mitsubishi Sonya kits. I think Mitsubishi,
Yeah.
but to see how they pair up side by side.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's no question that some of the older kits are do still hold up, and they're and in even the ones that don't hold up, for me, they're still a fun build. I mean,
Hmm.
it's partly it's the subject, partly there's some nostalgia element to it, but there's also the challenge of trying to turn something that uh was probably never thought of. It was probably thought of as eventual BB gun fodder,
Yeah.
but trying to actually turn it into something decent,
Mhm.
I kind of enjoy doing that, and it's a bit of a challenge. And I get laughed at the club sometimes because the subjects I choose are the kits I choose. But
We're
yeah, but there's
laughing.
no
We're
question.
laughing with you. We're not laughing at you.
No, you're laughing at me. Don't think I don't know that. But 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 for sure, for sure. I mean, these kits today, a lot of them are insanely complex, and they're beautifully molded, and the technology is over the moon better than it ever used to be.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I wonder where are the super simple kits for new kids coming in, people who are just starting out, that kind of thing.
Well,
Maybe it's just the old kits.
you
I
do see
think.
the old kits get re-released whenever there's
Yep.
new ones.
And
Yeah, I
there
love
are.
round two.
Hasegawa will do that, and frankly, Airfix will do that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we are seeing some manufacturers like Takom with their Blitz series.
Edwards
There.
Weekenders, that
Yep,
it's just the plastic.
there is some stuff there that's doing it. I
yeah,
I also think as well, we were talking about like a generational thing. I think a lot of it is kids or whoever, you want to build what you see,
Yeah.
whether it's in real life or on the TV or stuff like that. And I know the model railroad industry has realized that finally, that yeah, like the kids or even the people slightly younger than us, they're not necessarily interested in steam engines. They want to see what they saw when they were kids,
yeah.
diesel motors and stuff like that. So that's why that's a lot more popular. And yeah, again, we see it with the rise of the Gundam, the sci-fi options now from IP, from
Hmm.
various sci-fi
Oh
TV
yeah.
show and movie IP is huge. Like I said, I've got two Dune or ornithopters. That one's done and one's I'm going to build from a movie series. I've got a bunch of Star Wars stuff and some Star Trek stuff. So and again, it's all various levels of complication. You can get a very simple thing that you can slap together on a weekend, all the way up to a 1/350, a starship with photo etch that will rival a lot of like World War II battleships,
Hmm.
if you want to detail it and really go to that extent. So I think a lot of it's a generational thing, and I think some of the manufacturers are getting it. Some of them have taken a while. I know the Far East manufacturers, particularly, and again, we've talked about this to death on how big Gundam is in
Yeah.
Japan versus the rest of the world. It's absolutely huge. We're a blip, oh, we have we have an hour on the assembly line. Yeah, we can do this for the rest of the world, basically. But and I think that's a lot of it. You're seeing that, and I think yeah, the kids coming in. We've got a kid in our club, and he's building a lot of the jets and stuff like that. But
Mm.
it's a far cry from, yeah, like when I was growing up, every kid was building Spitfires, or our older brothers or fathers and that, because that's what they saw. Now kids want to build, or people want to build what they're seeing necessarily. You're still going to have the historical ones, don't get me wrong. But this is why you're seeing such popularity. Like there was a big demand for building the Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers and the Gerald Ford class aircraft carriers. There was quite a bit of a demand there. Not as huge as it was in the old days, but still a
Hmm.
very passionate group. So I think that's what we're seeing more and more of.
Yeah, I do think things time out over. They don't disappear. We're going to have there's always going to be World War II to model. I mean, look at World War One, aircraft in particular, and tanks have
Yep,
had a renaissance in the
yep,
last 10 years. Wingnut Wings blew the doors off of World
yep.
War One aircraft, and then Roden has done a good job with them as well. But TACOM's done a nice job with World War One tanks and armor. So
Hmm.
it's sort of it's almost got to the point where, man, we've got all these different things, um, but they're all the same. Okay, got a lot of Stoogs. We keep joking about how many Stoogs there are.
Yep. Every year
So
seems to be a popular, something comes out particularly on the armor side lately. Like
yeah,
on the aircraft side, what was it, 22 and 23? There were a lot of F-14s that
yeah,
came out from different manufacturers.
and then a lot of Phantoms,
A lot of
and
Yep.
Yep, yep.
yeah. So it's sort of it, there may be an element of, okay, we've got to come up with a slightly different some things because people who collect these kits, and there's a lot of us who collect unbuilt kits, will want that for their collection, right? I
Yep.
mean, whether they ever build it or not, who knows? Anyway, it's interesting. It's just,
Well, the other thing I found interesting, because you mentioned here about, you wonder if anyone's collected show data. You've seen more sci-fi and other entries, but this is a lagging indicator, as it's mostly old curmudgeons who go to contests and compete.
that's
Um,
Terry. That's Terry. Terry wrote that.
Terry,
Yeah,
oh yeah, okay. But no, it does tend to skew for people who enter, although you are seeing a lot more kits. But yeah, I had a look around. I really couldn't find anything. I'd love to get some data just to say, okay, how many were World War II? How many were Cold War?
I
How
think
many
the
were
only place
sci-fi?
that may have been collecting that data was the IPMS
Yeah,
national
I
contest.
have to write them, and I'm gonna check with some people there just to see, because it'll be interesting to see. I think, yeah, we're seeing more sci-fi. Obviously, we're seeing more Gundam.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting just to see what sort of data. I wonder if our friends at Heritage Con, we could
Yeah,
all
it changed.
pull that
I
in.
know when we formed the Tech Mages, we were a science fiction based club, and we were brand new to it. I had never been to a show before. This was in 97, 98, somewhere in that
Right.
range when we started going in. And science fiction was either one category or miscellaneous.
Yeah.
And here we would come in and there suddenly be a dozen Star Furies on the table.
Yeah.
There'd be all this, numerous, and we would come to the shows and we'd win in quote conventional categories and in the figures and
Hmm.
other more science fiction fantasy stuff, which I think started making it okay for the guys, the closet builders, to start bringing their stuff in as well and start talking. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, yeah, hey, we all like Star Trek. We all built Enterprises, but not everyone brought them in.
No.
Or
Right, right.
why not? Or
Yeah.
maybe when they see it built a little different, or resin conversions for them and all that. And this was back in the day of truly horrific resin.
Mhm.
Um, and friends of mine essentially taught themselves how to cast correctly.
Yeah.
And we were making masters and doing conversions and making this wide variety of stuff.
Mhm.
And more and more and more, and people started really coming out, and it was very nice.
In a way, we're starting to see that again, but with 3D printing, right? I mean, the ubiquity of the 3D printer
it's a
now.
medium, it's not a subject.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the fact that it's a medium that you can do at home, and if
Sure.
with the right equipment, you basically if you get into the design area, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, or there's guys who sell files, and I would advise everyone to buy their files from someone,
Yeah,
not pirated stuff. If it's out there and there's no charge for it, it's pirated.
yeah.
So guys like Alan Rivard that are spending a
Mhm.
lot of time making accurate stuff, you can print a 30-second scale Star Fury, and it's got all the wiring tubing printed into it. So you just run wires down channels
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and you put it together. And a 30-second scale Star Fury is massive.
That's a project. That's a lifetime goal for some people.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean you're going to have to clean it up because this is not a molded kit that's been cleaned up.
Right. But that's fine. I mean,
Um,
we're all used to that from the old days of vac forms and everything else, even resin. I mean, resin kits you had to clean up. So,
yeah, but the other side of this, that we talk about Gundam and how phenomenal um, Bandai's stuff is, and all their Star Wars stuff and everything it builds great. And you've got the Games Workshop really pushing the fantasy and almost kind of science fiction horror side of things on the miniatures, and more miniatures it shows.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yes.
I was
Yeah.
painting them back in the early '80s, and I've never stopped.
Yep.
Uh,
I'm back into
but
them myself,
yeah,
particularly, the battle mech side. And I need more battle tech mechs, like I need a hole in my head, but gee, some more seem to show up.
They are neat.
oh
I used to do that back in university day because it was the only size I could fit into my
yeah,
dorm room.
yep.
But yeah, but haven't since. I probably have about a mitt full of white metal
Yep.
cast guys lying
Yep.
around somewhere.
Yep.
But no, I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and I can certainly see the appeal, and I can see the artistry of it too. To me, like
Mm.
there are people who think that, well, that's not really modeling. No, yes, it is. Painting is part of
Oh yeah.
modeling.
Yeah. You go
Let
to
me
you
come
go to a
over here
figure
and show
show.
you something,
Yeah,
and put some
yeah,
light on these things. Like, can you do that?
yeah.
Do you know where to start? No.
Exactly.
No,
It's like,
no.
can I know where to start on a car kit. I know I would fail
Yep.
that kind of
Exactly.
finish because it's just I don't have the practice for it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's
Definitely.
that's
So
another one of my bugaboos is the the gorgeous gloss finishes like a Lappy Dave Gertank finishes comes up
Mhm.
with his cars. That's I gotta try and master that at some point. But anyway, that's a totally different topic.
yeah. All right. I think we were going to talk a bit about nostalgia modeling, but I think we'll wait for next episode to talk
Yeah.
about that,
Yeah.
because that's a whole topic on its own. So, let's move on to what's on the bench. So I'm going to start. My CF21 is complete based on the YF21 Macross kit. I wrote up a good backstory. It's on my blog. The link will be in the show notes. Came together well. Really pleased with it. Learned a few more lessons. I failed in one area. I should have left the tailplanes off until the very end because
Mm.
they were a bit tricky with decals and everything. They did come off, so I had to glue them back on. But other than that, no, I'm very pleased. Great Gunsy coat on it. Worked out really well in one coat. Also, as I said, I'm working on some battle mechs. Somehow another box of 5 ended up jumping into the cart when I went to get paint at the game store. Hate it when that happens. They're beautifully cast by Catalyst, and some nice classic ones and some newer ones. And I'm really having fun playing with different techniques and different paints, doing it. Although I've got quite a few that are in a blue, but this latest set I might try some different stuff as well. So I've got about 6 that just need to have bases properly weathered and stuff like that. And then I did pick up, my order came in from Brofdale's Hobbies of the 2 ornithopters from the latest Dune movie. Mung produced 3 different items. So they have the 2 ornithopters and a spice harvester. I was more interested in the ornithopters. So they're quite good. I did a preview video, unboxing video of those. I've done the Atreides one. I did wanted to do one flying and with another one on the ground. So the Atreides one I built on the ground. I should have put some nose weight in. So there's a tip for you. Because fortunately I was able to glue it, but the landing gear is very small, the landing skids. So I had to make a jig and super glue it, and it finally went together, and it went together really well. They're nice little kits. And as I said, I used some of the Vallejo weathering products, and I was very pleased. So I've still got one more to build there, and I reckon they're about 1/200th. I think last time I said 1 to 144, but I've been doing some more reading, and most people seem to think 1 to 200's the scale for them. And then the next thing I'm going to build is going to be a ship of some sort. I've either got the Tirpitz or I've got this USS Dallas versus the Typhoon class submarines. So I might do that in 1/700 scale. Very simple build in preparation for Heritage Con, because it's always nice to have a kind of a clean plate for Heritage Con. And then if you get something, then you're bad, and you get something, you can right away work on it. You don't have to wait and
Sure.
lose the
What
mojo.
makes what makes you call it bad though? I mean, really, it's not
Well,
bad.
bad, quote unquote, yes, bad, air quotes, bad.
Yeah, air quotes. Yeah,
Air
yeah.
quotes, yes. It's when my wife's, she's the same when oh, I've got this project I want to do. I have to get this yarn, so I'll be bad when I go to the yarn store. It's very similar. That's what's nice about having a spouse who also crafts.
Right.
Okay, Jeff, how about you, sir?
Well, I'll start first by saying I didn't realize the degree of power that we have with this podcast. Did you? I didn't realize how much power we had
We
because
have a lot of power.
a couple of shows ago we were talking about some things we saw on Scalemates, and there was a reissue of a Bugatti
Yes.
Coupe Royale, a beautiful car, and I just made some kind of a noise about how that was lovely, and I'd love to get my hands on one. And kudos, thanks to Frank Donati, who was listening to that show, and he actually donated to my cause an Italeri Coupe Royale or Coupe
Yes.
Napoleon, which is exactly the same vehicle, same kit, just with a different brand name on it, and
Yep.
it's beautiful
Huh.
kit, a beautiful kit. So I just want to do a shout out to Frank for being generous and offer to any other modeler out there who wishes to donate. Anytime I mention something I'm really keen on,
Now,
feel
now,
free.
now,
Happy to have
I
that.
don't know if Frank told you this, but he expects it to be built.
Oh, that's going too far. That's an ask.
I'm just saying.
Far too.
You ask too much, sir.
You asked too much,
Yeah.
sir.
That's beyond the pale. But speaking of beyond the pale, yes, I'm almost finished the Zeppelin versus pterodactyl diorama that I talked about the last couple of times.
Yep.
And I have actually completed the entry sheet to stick it into Heritage Con.
Yay.
So we'll see. It's just going to be there for people to look at. I have no idea. We were talking about what category to put it in. No idea. So I just stuck it in as aircraft diorama. It'll probably
Yeah.
get shifted around as
Terry and I think
It's-
it's going to go into sci-fi.
It's science fiction or fantasy
Yep.
diorama.
Yep.
It's a
Yeah,
science
it'll go
fiction
into that.
diorama.
Yeah, we'll see
Yep.
we'll see
And it's
where
a
he
solid
inputs.
one. Yep.
We'll see.
Well,
I think it's awesome. People are going to love it.
it's
We've
going to
had
be.
we've had calls and telegrams, and people want to see it.
I posted it because I joined the Airships and Dirigibles Facebook group for reference material when I started building it. And near the end of it, you've seen the pictures of it.
Yeah.
I posted a couple of pictures and told people what the motivation was, and the feedback was phenomenal. It was obviously hit a nerve. A lot of people
Yeah.
thought it was a lot of fun.
I
So
think it's great.
that's kind
It
of
is
fun.
fun.
So that's kind of done. I also I've written an article about it for IPMS Canada. We'll see if they want to use it or not. They did want an article on my 132nd Revell Lysander target towing in Canadian Warplane Heritage markings. So I've completed that, and because I was on a roll of completing articles, I pulled out my old Mobius Discovery 1 from 2001, which I have been working on for years. Actually, not working on for years. It's been sitting there taunting me, and started playing around with it again. And I got the lighting working again, and I relearned how LEDs work. They only work in one direction.
That's right.
So positive to the positive, negative to negative.
Well, I
Don't
did notice the
mix them up.
Discovery was missing from the top of the bookshelf behind you, so that's good.
It is literally, you can't see
Right
it.
there.
It is. Hang on, I'll see if I'll move the camera there. It's
There it
right
is.
there.
There it is.
Voila.
There it is.
And I am doing all the weathering for, basically just different shades of gray for panels for differentiation.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot
I've
of
got my
Progress.
I got my 1/350th. It's in the queue. It'll be
Yeah.
like it'll be sooner rather than later. It's in like the top, probably within the next 5.
So that's
If
where
it's
I
a
am
passion
now.
project, you should work on it.
Yep, exactly.
Pull it out. Now the biggest problem is the base. I painted it gloss black, uh, uh, sort of enamel paint, and it's been so long since I've used enamel paint. Didn't realize how long it takes to dry.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
takes ages to dry. So it may be drying while we're going on our road trip vacation the next
I mean,
couple of
yeah.
weeks.
Honestly, that's what these rattle cans are for.
You know
A
what?
good rattle can.
I thought I should do that, but I looked in my paint and I realized we've got an old can of outdoor black gloss paint, so I might as well use it.
Mm.
No, probably should not have done that. Anyway, that's where I am. That's what I'm doing.
Very, very cool. Very.
Yeah, I am moving along on the XP47H. Really nice. I got those masks in from Kid Masks.
Mhm.
I got those put on, so now I can get green on the surface, on the top, and on the bottom, neutral gray. So it's going to be a late 44 sort of build.
Nice.
She
Very
looks
good.
great. I've got
That's
a
very
little
good.
bit of shading. It's impossible to see. Not
Yeah, a
impossible to
little
see.
bit. No, I can see a bit of it there.
Subtle,
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
I'll blend it back in on the bottom. I'm debating whether to try to hand paint the demarcation, but I'll probably try to soft mask it between the gray and the green. And I've got
Right.
some
Nice.
ideas for some artwork on it. So
Gotcha.
she's moving along.
That's a sharp looking plane.
It really
It
is.
is. It
So all
is.
the vents bits are photo etch. Vent doors are all photo etch under here, under the nose and on the fuselage side. That took a bit. There's really not a great way to test fit these things because this photo etch will break on you.
Mm.
Because I didn't re-anneal the copper or try to reinforce it. I should have tried to reinforce it, but it's all in there now. I had to replace a little bit of it with some paper on one end, coated with some CA, so it's hard. It looks fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Looks good. Looks
Yeah,
You know what that
really
looks like?
is-
You know what that shape looks like with that big intake at the front? It reminds me of the kind of comic book fighter planes that the good guys used to fly. They'd come out
Yeah.
of the sun and save the day with a
right.
ship like that.
It definitely has a classic late 30s fighter plane look to it, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
It does. It really does. I love the intake, that
Yeah.
scoop. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and a bunch of scoops on it, and probably not enough. This thing probably would have overheat, but that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
gonna build it as a conjectural. John Payne commented on my post on our Tech Mages site that he's waiting on some to start it on figuring out which sets of decals he wants to do. So that should be interesting to see him do it.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a builder. I do want to. I've also been painting the Regalt.
Yep.
So I've got some white paint on that. I found one or two pieces, some seams I need to work on. Oh, on this XP47H, while I was trying to get these rear doors in, actually split the entire back
Ooh.
from around the scoops all the way open, split completely apart.
Ouch.
Wow.
So I think what is sufficient to adhere styrene with a hot cement is not sufficient area for super glue to do a great job.
Interesting.
So I'm going to think about reinforcing that area on the XP82.
Mhm.
And finding a way to get more surface area in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I
Makes
I
sense.
found
I
I
would do
found that
that
I've been
with
doing that.
yeah, I would do that with photo etch stuff, but
Mhm.
it's a little easier there because you're sanding that whole thing flat. And this has all the locators from the Tamiya kits. I don't want to lose those locators.
Right.
Um, but I have to figure out some way to do it. I might find a hybrid way to do that. It's a
Interesting.
hybrid.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a project.
Yeah. Just to get some extra space in there. With
Yeah.
photo etch, I would do it all the time. I would pack areas with epoxy and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
just to get a more surface area.
Cool.
Um, yeah. And since it's a tail sitter anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Very good. All right. What we're reading these days, I managed to catch up on some stuff, but we'll start with Jeff. Go ahead.
Well, I finally finished a book that we talked about a while ago that I started that my son-in-law loaned me. It's called SAS Bravo 03 or Bravo 30, which
Bravo
was
30. Yeah.
yeah in the Gulf War, first Gulf War, the SAS, the British sent in three units, Bravo 1, Bravo 2, and Bravo 30, to do basically as scud hunters. They were trying to take out the scud launchers that were
Yep.
mobile, that were
Mhm.
being used to launch attacks on Israel in an attempt to draw Israel in and then create a cross-Arab war. And Bravo 10 touched down because the British are like Canada. They were cheap as dirt. They have crap equipment, and so when they landed in the desert, the three units, they found that the only things they had available to them were basically retail four-wheel drive vehicles, which was low
Mhm.
ground clearance and didn't have any of the usual SAS Jeep trucks with all the supplies and hard points for weaponry and everything. And two of the three groups, Bravo 1 and Bravo 30, decided they were going to screw that. These things are just going to break down, they'll slow us down, so we're just going to walk. We'll
Yep.
get airdropped in and we'll walk, carrying all of the equipment that they'd normally be carrying on the trucks. And Bravo 30 said, no, we'll take the Jeeps because damn it, we don't want to carry all that crap with us. Turned out to be a wise decision. The vehicles, when they landed, they weren't in the desert. They were on hard pack, basically ground, and the vehicles could work quite well. The two teams that went in without the vehicles, Bravo 10, they landed, realized it was flat. They had no place they could dig in and hide themselves like they were expecting. So they basically abandoned the mission and they flew back. The decision was this was a failure waiting to happen. Bravo 20, yeah, Bravo 20 actually landed and started walking, and they were decimated. They became like the tragic story of the SAS in the Gulf War. Bravo 30, they landed with the vehicles. They actually wound up completing their mission, but they didn't know they had because they kept sending back their radio reports and all the positions of the Scud launchers and didn't ever get a reply
Mhm.
because when they were sent out there, they were given all the wrong radio frequencies for
Of course.
Oh,
hearing back.
Yep.
And this was all like it was just such a comedy of errors. But they did their job. They got the missiles taken out, and they didn't realize they'd done their job until they managed to get out of country. And anyway, it's a fascinating story, really interesting, worth reading. It literally, I read it in 2 days. Once I got back into it, it just
Cool.
kept flying through it. So yeah, Bravo 30 by Des Powell. Good book.
You
yeah.
starting anything new yet, or haven't decided?
No, I'm focused on writing those two articles and now finishing this one on the
There
Discovery.
you
So
go.
I'm
All right.
gonna focus. Damn it,
Good for you.
focus.
Okay. How about you, Terry?
I finished the book Handmade. I was telling you about it. It's really interesting. It's kind of a science book, but it's also a personal book of a journey of her learning more about herself somewhat, but also the people that made all these things. So it was like wool, paper, bronze, steel, glass, all these things, and she would go to shops that are still making them the old ways.
Mhm.
So glass blowing and turning that into sheets and all that kind of stuff, and paper making and all that, and learning just like we say with any craft, once you start to understand your materials, whatever they are, you're infinitely better at what you're doing. Once you know what, well, wood is one too. So whittling, she was making spoons, which is like the acoustic guitar of woodwork, but using green wood. Not and most of us are woodworking with kiln dried wood. It is
Hmm.
hard. It's already gone through its shape changes.
Mhm.
Greenwood hasn't. So
Right.
things change over time. And it's an interesting read. It's a quick read. It's a very personal read too. Um, I'm still reading the other books like Fafhrd and Grey Mouser and such. I haven't been reading as much before bed. I'm deciding what to dive into next. I've got a couple choices, some histories, some sciencey books. I'm trying to figure that out,
Very cool.
or start dig into something, a heavier fiction book
Yeah.
that might be something to do.
Yeah. Okay, I've been carrying on with The Year Without Summer, 1816, and the volcano that darkened the world and changed history. It's been an interesting read because it's talking about not only the weather conditions, but what ifs with the weather conditions. So I'm reading a bit about Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein,
Hmm.
a group of people, and then how the weather, it was so bad when they were staying in Austria and Switzerland. They basically were inside a lot during the summer, and they came up with to challenge each other to make stories. And a lot of people are saying, I'm just halfway through it, but would we have had Frankenstein if we hadn't had this particular year without summer? So it's interesting on how they're linking some of these things together. So I'm really enjoying that. I've got a couple of other ones in the queue, but I just haven't, again, just like others, I just haven't had a lot of time. I'm hoping to have a bit more time. I've had more time at the bench lately, which has been nice. So okay, let's talk about Sean's custom model tools. He's also going to be at Heritage Con, so make sure you check him out. Here we go. Now we're going to talk a bit about Sean's Custom Model Tools, one of our other sponsors of the Scale Model podcast. Some very cool things, both 3D printed and the Goodman Super Sanding Blocks. Let's start with the Microset and Microsol decal set bottle stand. This is purposely designed for the microscale set and sole. Most modelers over the years, they've tipped these bottles over. So this is a very handy thing. At $14.95, you can put them both together. They're printed in blue and red for easy identification. Comes with a black base, and they actually have little magnets on it, so it helps keeps them in place. Definitely a good deal. I use mine all the time, and I can well recommend them. Let's talk a bit about those Goodman Model Super Sanding Blocks, namely the Value Pack Combo for $28.99. You get the 80 grit, 180 grit, 220, 320, 400, and 600. Just an amazing set, just what you need. And you can also, if you want, you can also get a super sanding block stand for it, which also really makes life a little bit easier, helps things keep it organized. The other thing too is they have the awesome model tape dispenser for your various tapes. It's basically a 3D printed thing. You put spools of your tapes. It's got a little razor blade to help cut it, and it's really, really good design. So yeah, works out really well, and yours for $19.95. So check out these and other amazing deals at Sean'sCustomModelTools.com, and also on Facebook, and tell them that the Scale Model Podcast sent you. Okay, things we've seen. Terry, this first one's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Another podcast I listen to is Paleocast, and a new episode is about describing a new old new late Triassic pterosaur, a small one, about
Hmm.
3 foot wingspan.
Too
Um,
small. Far too
it,
small.
I don't know. It might eat Zeppelins.
Can't
it's a
take down a
short,
Zeppelin.
right. It's not a pterodactyl, right? And they're on. Have a look at the link. There is a clade chart of the pterosaur families, and it's a lot more complex than we thought
Yeah,
it was, than I
yeah,
thought it was.
Oh
I
yeah,
agree.
it's
I'm
amazing.
looking at this.
I didn't
And it's
realize
pretty well described.
I didn't realize that pterodactyl
Hmm.
that the pterosaur, pteranodon, and pterodactyls are like separated by millions of years of evolution. I mean,
Tens of, yeah.
tens of millions of years, and the pterodactyls are the ones that have teeth. They were smaller, but they had teeth, and the pterodons were bigger, but they basically ate plants and
They
that
gummed you
sort
to
of thing.
death. They gummed
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
to
or
death.
insect, yeah, or stuff to flying, yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I thought that was interesting. That's something I did not know, and
right. It's
something interesting.
it's really fascinating.
Yeah, you really get a
Um,
sense of the scale of time when you start looking at those things, right? I mean, because you realize first not just how long ago they were, but two, with things you thought were relatively related in some way, were tens of millions of years
well, the
apart.
classic example is we are living closer in time to T-Rex than T-Rex was to the Stegosaurus or the
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dimetrodon.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know. It's astounding. It's just astounding. And then you get back to the Cambrian explosion, and that's a whole other layer of
yeah. Well,
Oh,
I grew up
exactly.
in Cincinnati, and there's a Cincinnatian period of time in the Ordovician with
wow.
all this. Yeah, so we would go down to the creeks and dig out fossils of crinoids and trilobites, and
Yeah, yeah, all
if we
those
were
good things.
really lucky, something more interesting, one of the mollusks.
Cool.
Um, yeah, it was a good time.
That's fun.
And
Well, that's cool.
I see you posted something. I'd forgotten about this, Terry, but you go
I
ahead.
I
Oh, that's
know
Jeff's.
I put this in,
Oh, sorry,
and
Jeff.
I knew this was going on. So there's somebody out there, and I don't know who it is. Otherwise, I'd definitely give him or her credit, but I think it's a him who has been posting occasionally CAD drawings
Mm.
of parts and bits of his work on a 3D printed 148 scale Avro Arrow, and the detail is astronomical. I mean, basically, if and when this thing becomes available, everybody who's spending $150 for a 148 scale hobbycraft Avro Arrow will be kicking themselves because this is a beautiful. It looks beautiful. Anyway, more recently, it started showing up with test prints, resin test prints. So he's actually at the testing stage, and he says he's going to try and make it available as a kit or in files, one way or the other. So I think that's pretty cool. And if we can find some links about it, that'd be great, Stuart.
I
Maybe
just
direct
found a
people to
link.
it.
I'll add it to the show notes.
There you go.
Excellent.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, this looks
It's
good.
no matter how you cut it, that's a plane that as a Canadian modeler, you probably should build. And I want to build that and the TSR2, both of them in 148 scale, and have them up there with my B47 or CL52 Avro test bed build of a few years ago. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that. Might get some people salivating, might get people saying, "What the hell? Who cares?" I don't know, but
I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the pricing of the 148th kit at HeritageCon,
the
The
148,
the Hobbycraft
the
one.
Hobbycraft one.
Should I
yeah,
bring mine to sell it?
You could. Well, you know
uh,
what's been funny? The Tudor kit scheduled to come out from
yes,
Kinetic. It's been delayed until third or fourth quarter. But I'm still seeing the odd Hobbycraft one going for insane prices.
I'm seeing the odd Hobbycraft one going for relatively normal prices. In other words, people are trying to get rid of them now because
Well,
they
I'm
know this
hoping
is
we'll see
coming.
more. Yep, exactly. So it's always
Yeah.
interesting to see what the market does. Okay, our last word. We're also sponsored by Return to Kit Form. Return the number two kitform.com. Your home. You're building a Macross fighter sort of thing. You want a mass for this thing? Check them out. They do them all. Definitely well used. I don't build a fighter without a mass set. So if I can, and for my Macross, these are just really good. So make sure you check them out as well. For more modeling podcast goodness, do check out the group site at modelpodcast.com. That'll list all the other sites that do different things. What's nice, we all have different themes, which is always cool. We also have a Facebook group, the YouTube channel, and our very own website, scalemodelpodcast.com. That's where we have the show notes and pictures, including
Award-winning show notes.
award-winning. We should add that, yes, including lots of Zeppelin pictures. Don't forget.
Hmm.
We also have merchandise on Redbubble. And like I say, you'll see us at the show. We have one more episode for the show, gentlemen, believe it or not. It's going to be quick, going to be here before we know it. So it's going to be good. So anyone else have any last words?
Nope.
Anyone? Bueller?
Nope, I
Bueller?
don't think so.
Okay, so for episode 136, my name is Stuart Clark.
I'm Jeff Highland.
I'm Terry Measley reminding you to buy more paint.
Oh no, no! But
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you and be well.